Greetings from the stunning Grand Canyon State, specifically Scottsdale, Arizona, where Andre of TFL Car is with me. Welcome, Andre.
Thank you, MotoMan.
We've been here for 3 days, and each of us shot 4 films, and the folks at BMW are sick of us. They are literally throwing us out. Like in 20 minutes, they say we don't have to go home, we just can't be here. However, there were 2 cars we didn't shoot, so we figured we'd collaborate on this and shoot them very quickly.
These are the next and updated 2024 BMW X5M and X6M.
So what specifically have they changed, Andre? Just from a high level, and we'll go into the detail.
Well, the styling, of course.
Slightly, yes.
Interiors a bit.
A bit, yes, sir.
And then power. Isn't there new power?
Always good to have more power. So why don't we start with styling and then move into power, and then we'll show them the interior.
Sounds good. So let's start there.
So the styling, you can see this is a mid-cycle refresh, meaning we're not going to change the whole car because the car has been out 3-4 years, because Germans, they usually go about 7-8 years in their life cycle. So what they do is they change front, back, add some tech, maybe change the interior. Small things like that kind of keep the overall product fresh. And this is all manufacturers, not just BMW. So here you can specifically see changes in the light signature as well as in the grille. Like, let's start with the grille because I think that's the most important. You guys have been incredibly vocal about the grilles on BMW M cars, specifically the M3 and the M4. I told you that over time you would like those and they would look more attractive, and they have. But this one, they're not going with the bucktooth thing. What they've done is they've stayed with the overall shape of the grille of the X5 and the X6, but they're picking up on the horizontal slot, the design from the M3 and the M4. Then over at the lights, what they do is they update the light signature. And this, it picks up on the graphics in the dashboard. So the tack, when you go into M mode, looks like that. What do you think of that, Andre?
I love it. By the way, I really am glad that they're staying a little bit more traditional with their front ends.
Very thankful.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of this.
So real quickly, the reason what he's saying is, you look at this, and this goes with this this small light opening. It's polarizing. I personally like the look of this car. Very few of you do, but they're at least not doing that now to this. My guess is when they do the full redesign, it's probably going to look closer to that. Then we should probably press on to the engine.
Yeah, we have to. This is an M car after all.
Yeah. So that is the twin turbocharged 4.4 liter V8 we've seen in the M5, as well as many other big BMW M cars. And the turbocharger, it's in the V. Why is that important? Well, it's an efficiency thing. It's not so much just a performance thing. They bring the catalytic converter closer to the turbo to get to the end, to get the engine into the optimal efficiency faster. Now, what's different with this? Well, it's not 600 horsepower anymore. If you remember an X5 and an X6M, it's 600 in the basic one, 617 in the competition. That's the big difference between that and the competition.
Yeah.
Here, they're starting at 625. Now, the question is, how are they doing that with effectively the same engine? Well, this is what you're looking at is not just an M. This is a hybrid, but not like a Prius. It's a mild hybrid. There's no EV-only mode, and there's no plug-in hybrid like in the XM. What they've done is they sandwiched an electric motor between the gas engine and the transmission, and that brings about 12 horsepower, 147 pounds of torque. And that's coupled with the 625 horsepower and 553 pounds of torque. Now, technically, you can't bring those numbers together and you get the full output. We're at a point where they don't have all the details in the car, so we're just giving you a very quick sneak peek on this.
Now, MotoMan, the reason why I'm starting on the rear 22-inch wheel entire combination here on the X6M is because traditionally M cars have been rear-wheel drive. But of course, we have moved on. By the way, this wheel design is new, updated, and also it's staggered combination. So it's a 21-inch wheel in the front, and it's a 22 in the rear.
That is a trend that they've been doing. They did that on the M2 as well, which I have to say works to great effect.
Yeah, so I mean the rear is a little bit more, pronounced because it's important, right? Traditionally, M cars have been rear-wheel drive.
As they should be. But then again, I'm a purist.
Yes, but now we have MX Drive, right, which is their latest all-wheel drive system, which is highly sophisticated, and there's several different modes, but always I think they remember that it has to be a little bit more rear biased for that sporty character.
Now, BMW does do the same idea with like regular X5s. Anything that's purpose-built rear drive, and then they add the all-wheel drive system. But they change this, they tweak it more for the M cars, where they send a bit more torque to the rear in even the basic four-wheel drive, but it's not really 100%. That you can't ever get to 100% in this system. And then they have that four-wheel drive sport. What is the four-wheel drive sport?
Well, it gives a little bit more bias to the rear, still.
So it's a closer to rear drive,
Yeah.
but never 100% rear drive. It's not like an M5 where you can cut the torque to the front. Now, how is that system different than the XM?
Well, the XM also has the sand mode.
Working in conjunction with the driving dynamics as well as the all-wheel drive system we just talked about, the BMW M5, M6M, they continue with the strut tower brace, but this one is much more enhanced than other BMW M cars. Like in an M2, it's basically a brace here, and then these kind of things that go from the strut to the front of the car. This is like a whole lattice work, and then underneath the vehicle, they both have shearing plates. That's basically something like this that sits underneath the subframe that enhances the structure of the vehicle. At this point, we should probably go to the inside of the car.
Yeah, but I think for that we should turn them around.
Okay, so let's do some magic, movie magic.
Okay.
So Andre, let's start with the inside of the X6M, and if I'm honest, the interior of both of these is exactly the same, with the exception of there's less utility in this utility vehicle because of the design, the shape of the rear. The reason why I wanted to start with this one is I'm not fond of this color interior, so I think we should just show them the red and we press on to the other vehicle.
Wait, what's wrong with red? This
You
is
know, one of
a
the-
sporty, low slung roof.
I get it, but this red to me, it's garish. It works only in like old Italian cars with like dark blue exteriors, something like a Spider Veloce. That looks great. We have one of those in the hangar. But when it comes to cars like this, I want to see something more rich, and that's why we should go over to the X5M, and I'll show you the stunning cognac interior. Isn't this much better?
Cognac.
And it's a two-tone. It's got the stripe on the inside of the seat here. And it's effectively, everything is similar to the previous one from the back forward. So it's got the M5 seats. It doesn't have the carbon fiber seats like in the M2, the M3, the M4, and the M8. The ones where you have like a storage area for your khram.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Telling you, it works like a charm. Anyway, we'll press on to what has changed, and that is the dash. And again, what they're doing is they're tying in more of like all the family business. So it's got this screen that we saw that was premiered in the iX, and then it cascaded down to the i4. It's now in the M2, it's in the 3 Series, and obviously we're going to have it here. And what they've done is two things. Number one, they're trying to make it more stylish because all the kids these days want screens. But from a manufacturing perspective, you can imagine this is cheaper to make because you make one of these and you put it in many applications. And then while we're here, this is where we get into all of the customization that makes an M car so special. I literally can change the ECU mapping, I can change the chassis tuning, I can change the steering, I can even change the performance and feel of the brakes. If I'm completely honest, I can't talk about this one because I haven't driven this one, but we did try this in the M2 recently, and it wasn't a stark difference. I think it's the kind of thing that you'd have to be driving the car on a daily basis where you would see this, and I would love your feedback for those of you that have experienced these systems as a daily, and what have you experienced. Then we talked about earlier the light signature on the front, how they changed the light signature where it's more graphic. This is what they're picking up on here. So that's repeated throughout the entire vehicle.
The angles there, yes.
Yeah. And then they've changed the paddle shifters. This is again a theme that they're doing. These are 3D printed carbon fiber paddle shifters. How do you like that?
Whoa.
And then you can take a look, some of the infotainment, the hard buttons have changed. This, I feel, is a step back. So yeah, you've got a volume knob, which thankfully we have this, because if you think about safety, your eyes go where your finger goes. So if I have to go here, like on an X1 or like on a Tesla to do stuff, I'm looking this way, not this way. Having a volume knob, my eyes are looking forward, and that's what's focused on safety. However, what they changed here, this used to have the skip functions for the infotainment, but would also have HVAC functions. Instead, it's all buried in this menu here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things going on because it's
Lot
kind
of
of a
things.
dual zone system.
It's a dual zone system, but this one's also fitted with heated, cooled seats and heated steering wheel.
Which it has to. I mean, it's a luxury vehicle also.
You know what? I shouldn't say only. The big thing for me is heated seats, even living in California. But I've noticed through the comments, I don't know about you and your show, but a lot of folks get fussed if the cars don't have the cooled seat and don't have the massage seats at something like this level. But then the funny thing is they complain that, oh my God, the car's too heavy. Well, how does the car going to get lighter if you have massage seats?
Well, by the way, there's a little symbol here. That is a massage seat symbol.
Yes, you do
Wow.
have a massage seat.
Wow.
And an aside here, I know we talked about the seats that have a storage area for your Schmeckel.
Yes.
These, yes, there's more lateral support, so here and here, but one of the more comfortable performance seats on offer from any of these guys, whether it's Mercedes, Porsche, or BMW. Anything else you want to show them on the inside of the car?
Well, I kind of was curious about, by the way, so this is an 8-speed still, we
This
believe?
is still an 8-speed.
We don't
yes.
have all the specs.
We don't have all the specs because, and the reason why we're hesitating is BMW made a huge shift in the XM where they've gone with a wet multiplate clutch. They're very specific about the language there. A wet multiplate clutch. And the reason why they did that is to be able to back up the torque coming out of the electric motor in the XM. Here, they've only given us details of output and that it is a mild hybrid, but nothing more than that.
Yes. And also, of course, you have M mode, which in here also includes track driving. So different modes there for road, track, and sport.
The big benefit of the track mode is this is what switches off your stability control. So this is where you can take your $150,000 investment and you'd go sideways. It also switches off the screen.
Yeah, I was talking to the head of development, Dirk, and he said they don't want people to be distracted on the track. You only look at your center gauge cluster, which is right there.
And that's minimized as well. Anything else you want to show them on the inside?
No, I think that's about it. But
Yeah.
now we need to choose our favorite, I guess.
So let's go outside and you and I will choose our favorite. So for this, I think we should start with you, and I'll tell you why. You are far more practical than I am. I have the practicality of a 3-year-old.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think you know where I'm going to go. Bam.
But why?
Couple of reasons. Not just because there's a little bit more storage area back here, but I also love the styling. There's something about the XM versus X6. X6 is just slopey and just kind of
It's
doesn't.
goofy.
It's a little goofy.
To me, it's somewhat ungainly back here. And you know, for the longest time, I never understood these. I never understood why they have a coupe SUV, because you're taking the U out of the SUV. Basically, you're trading this. And the reality is, it took me some time to understand, but these replace D-segment cars like that. These replace mid-size cars. In someone's mind, someone looks at this and says, this is too practical. Like, I would look at this and say it's too practical, but maybe I could get my brain to accept that. With that, I would still choose this.
Have we agreed
We actually
on
have
something?
agreed. We have agreed. And it's not just the utility, because if I'm going to buy something like this, I do want the utility. I just think this is a better looking vehicle. The proportions are right here, where to me the proportions are wrong. And what's funny is they can't build enough of these things. And it's BMW that invented this segment.
So we're both wrong, I guess.
We're
And
both wrong.
BMW is right.
Well, yeah, because they're the ones putting the money in the bank, and you and I are using an iPhone to shoot 2 cars before we get thrown out and
Yes.
sent to the airport.
Yeah, that shows you what's up.
Okay, so one more detail. Notice they changed the taillights as well. Here they're trying to pick up the 3D signature, really 3D design from the XM. It's not as successful as that because remember, this is only a mid-cycle refresh, so they're not going to put a huge amount of budget to make the back look like the same as the XM. Overall, I do think the rear taillight, the rear change is more successful because of the way they've add some pageantry to the lights. So with that, you know the deal here, Andre. We like to throw the audience, turn it around to them, and solicit their feedback. You had something very specific you wanted to ask the audience.
Yes, we kind of already mentioned this, but in a vehicle like this, which is the X5M competition, which is meant to be high performance, what would you give up? What luxury features would you give up in order to get better performance, higher acceleration, lower times?
I think that's a tough question because everybody pisses and moans about the weight of these things. And these are 5,000 pounds. But would you give up heated, cooled, massage seats? Would you give up the Flash all-wheel drive system for a more basic all-wheel drive system? Or
would you
just
give up
rear drive?
a panoramic sunroof?
I wouldn't. That's the
Okay,
one.
okay.
They know that's the one thing I wouldn't give up. But that's a good question. Would you give it up? Because it's not just weight; it's weight high in the car. Let us know in the comments below or via our social media. MotoMan TV all in word. MotoMan TV all in word. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And where can they find you, Andre?
alltfl.com, because we have 8 channels, but alltfl.com is where you can find us.
And you definitely need to check out the Classics channel where we drove the Blanca as well as the Volga. Those were super fun episodes. Until we see you in the next episode, bis später.